Welcome back to Behind the Screen. If my notes are to be believed, this is episode 76. Maybe, I don't know. Of the show as a whole, season 8, episode 13. Realms of Pugmire, specifically this series, or Pugmire specifically this series. Obviously, Realms of Pugmire is the second edition that isn't out yet, but I just got into the habit of calling it Realms of Pugmire during the Kickstarter to promote the Kickstarter, I think. Anyway, I got into the habit of calling it Realms of Pugmire for some reason, and it's technically Pugmire material. Regardless, we're doing Pugmire. It's cats, dogs. It's adorable. It's a good time. Everyone enjoys playing it. Standard disclaimers. I don't speak for Onyx Path, nor is this project official material. All views and opinions expressed are my own. This material will be available to buy on Canis Minor. I am merely a grateful fan with a platform. I am disabled. I do experience muscle spasms that can affect the muscles of pretty much anywhere in my body, but most particularly they can occasionally affect the muscles in my neck, jaw, tongue area, or eyes. That's always fun. But it can lead to disquieting muscle jerking movements or a worsening of my natural stammer / slurring of speech. If this becomes too much, I will call the stream. If it is simply the movements, I may just cover the camera and keep working. Who knows? It's not happened yet, thankfully. And I also struggle with multiple trains of thought, so I'll try to finish what I'm talking about before moving on to the next one. If you raise a point in chat, then please do feel free to interact and comment and talk. And ask questions about what I'm talking about Pugmire, Canis Minor, anything you can think of related to playing or running Onyx Path role-playing games. Technically any role-playing games, but as it's Onyx Path's channel, I feel like we should honour that, respect that, and keep things on topic as much as possible. Although I do draw from other games as examples where relevant. I will try to acknowledge that and then finish my train of thought and then loop back around to your point. Loop back around. It's dreadfully corporate. Come back around to your points and address them if they need further addressing. Just going to hydrate. Okay, so secondary disclaimer. This one is not a typical. It's not my usual disclaimer. I've been going through some stuff in my personal life, up to and including last night. Had some awful news coming. Received some awful news. I wanted to keep the stream. I wanted to honor my commitments to the stream because I really do like helping people, and I have been told that this show helps people. Gosh knows why. So I wanted to keep it going if I could. I am a little scatterbrained, more so than usual. So there may be more filler than is typical. And the material I'd like to discuss today may not take the full hour and 35 minutes that are left. I had some tech issues as well before the stream, which is why the stream started late. It's just one of those days. 2024 is off to a strong start. Yes, so there may be more filler, there may be more erratic thought processes than usual. I will try to keep myself on track. If anyone in chat does have the brain space to keep me on track, please call me out on things if I'm going wildly off-piste. That's kind of like as a secondary, unusual disclaimer. So, pertinent information out of the way first. Promotional information, sorry, not pertinent. Everything's pertinent. Everything I say that comes out of my mouth you should listen to. Monday meeting notes, as always, the best place to go for updates on Onyx Path projects and things of that nature. Obviously, I've adapted the show format to not provide a full recap of the Monday meeting notes anymore, because that's essentially what the Wednesday news update is anyway. So the pertinent information that you need, there's the word pertinent, that you need from the Monday meeting notes this week is that the next crowdfunding campaign starts today at 2 p.m. Which, if my maths is correct, is in 4.5-ish hours. So the link is there for it. It is the reprint, repro, a go-go. Essentially, Onyx Path have changed the printer that they use for their traditionally published book, their physically printed books, or traditionally printed books, whichever you prefer. And they need to rework some of the. They need to tweak the files for the new printer. So they're taking this opportunity to go through and implement some minor errata changes. And things of that nature to get them up to. It's not a revised edition of the game. It is simply just fixing typos and minor things of that nature. But the Indiegogo only runs for a couple of weeks. It's not the full month long crowdfunding campaign. These books already exist. They've been on sale for years at this point. They're just reprinting for where stockists are sold out and things of that nature, and taking the opportunity to implement errata fixes where relevant. So it's about half length of the normal campaign, but you should be able to get your book by the end of the year. And if you've been holding off on getting Trinity Continuum core rulebook, Trinity Continuum Aeon, or Scion Origin physically, now is your chance to do so. Other pertinent information. Sorry, I was just scanning through. I read the MMN this morning. Other relevant information is that Icons of Rage for Werewolf 20 goes on sale, and it is Onyx Path's last Werewolf 20th anniversary, Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th anniversary project. So if you are interested in such things, please do check that out on Wednesday when it goes on sale. Drive-Thru RPG and Roll20 are also running the New Year New Game sale with a whole bunch of Onyx Path game PDFs on sale. So please do check those out as well if you are interested in such things. I think that's it. So just the usual kind of rundown of the Twitch schedule. Obviously, now me, welcome, until conversion 11 Eastern. All these times are in Eastern. So I'm with you, as I say, for the next hour and a half ish. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Is the Scarred Lands. Sorry, today at 8 p.m. Oh, there's a problem with the schedule. I will let the relevant people know. So today at 8 p.m, they came from Classified Hotel Lobby. Wednesday at 9 p.m, Scarred Land, Sins of Shelzar. Friday at 9 p.m, Hunt of the Vigil, Fear and Loathing. Sunday 6 p.m, Scion 2nd Edition Godsend, and Monday 8 p.m. EST. I'm also going to pause the YouTube recording and let people know about that schedule hiccup. Unpause the YouTube recording. Hello YouTube, welcome back. We went literally nowhere. Yeah, Sneaky Unicorn. This is Behind the Screen, which is a show about the GM's craft and that side of things. But that was a behind the scenes look at behind the screen. So yeah, essentially, of course, because there's loads of shows across this channel, we share a Discord server to coordinate efforts and communicate problems and things. It's very useful, and if you are interested in streaming on the channel, I think there's a contact link somewhere floating around. I can't remember exactly where to look for it right now. Otherwise, I'd grab it for you. But there is a contact link for you to pitch shows and programs and things of that nature. It could be something. Obviously, there's the traditional actual plays. It could be a one-shot. It could be something more like this. I know that occasionally Travis, our esteemed Twitch overlord or organizer, also just streams their writing sessions sometimes. So for those who are new to the show, as I've touched on it, this is Behind the Screen. It's essentially just a community outreach show that I run is the wrong word. Orchestrate, I guess. Ostensibly, it is, as you can see, it's a content creation show where I write community content and explain thought processes and things behind that. But mostly the community content that you can see in the background it's just something for me to do between talking points, and also it's extra writing time. This very much is just like, I don't think that. Oh, I think that getting into writing RPG material should be as easy as possible, and or GMing in general, really, should be made as easy as possible. And I just like providing that resource to bounce ideas off of. Chat's pretty supportive and will listen to your ideas too. I try not to laugh at anything. There are no stupid questions. Somehow I'm here talking live on the internet about the craft of RPG writing, and if I can make it, I firmly believe anyone can. It's just practice mostly at this point. So feel free to ask questions about content creation, about writing material. I know that the topic of the Onyx Path cast this week is about getting into freelance writing. So if you are interested in freelance writing in the RPG industry, TTRPG industry, the Onyx Path cast, I think it's on Fridays, I want to say. Check it out. I believe it goes up on most of the podcast platforms. But yeah, so that's that. I'm Comrade Bubbles, or Ryan, I really don't mind which. As the old, very tired joke goes, you can call me anything but late for dinner. And this season of the show is specifically aimed at Pugmire. That is a cursed combination of emotes, truly. For those who don't know, Pugmire is basically D&D but dogs, /cats, /rodents, /lizards, /birds. It's a lot of slashes. The general gist of it is that at some point, humanity... something can be beautiful and cursed at the same time. At some point, humanity uplifted a plethora, if you will, get those $5 words in, a plethora of animals, gave them extended lifespans, the ability to speak, like opposable thumbs, things of that nature. And then humanity disappeared. What precipitated that is left deliberately unclear. That is something that you can explore in your games if you wish. You don't have to. But at some point, humanity disappeared, and the civilization broke down because the people who had uplifted the animals, let's say, their guiding force disappeared, and they were left to find their own way in the world. And the time in which the game is set is roughly analogous to medieval fantasy that you'd expect from more traditional tabletop role-playing games, but with occasional forays into advanced technology and horror. Careful, Bubbles, you run yourself into debt with words like that. Oh, unstable Deus, you know me, I'll never stop talking, and I refuse to pay attention to what I'm saying. It's largely about a society that's trying to rebuild itself and to uncover what it can of the past and to understand what it can of the past, with the past being our far future. But it uses uses a modified version of the 5th edition rule set for Dungeons and Dragons, so it is a D20 game. If you have any experience with 5th edition D&D, you will recognise many of the game terms in Pugmire. Realms of Pugmire is different. Realms of Pugmire is the 2nd edition of the game. It was kickstarted at the start of last year, let's say, for ease. And that moves away from the OGL to the Onyx 20 system. Still D20 based, still kind of, I guess, a spiritual evolution. Not a successor, because it does its own things, but an evolution of the traditional D20 systems, and is a lot of fun. Admittedly, I'm saying this from having had a peek behind the curtain as a freelance writer on the Pugmire game lines, on the Pugmire line, but hopefully you will enjoy what is in the works. If you are interested in any of this, by the way, I think if you... You know what? I'm not going to say that, just in case. I am actually wrong about that. Yes, so complete mental reset. Get off, abandon that train of thought. That's possibly going to cause me trouble if I finish it. The basic principle. So for those who are new here, again, I like to provide an overview of the game that I'm talking about for people who've never seen the show before or who just may not be familiar with the game line before. It gives me about 5 to 10 minutes of filler, so that I don't have to fill with content. And two, I like everyone to be on the same page, so that everyone who does watch the show from the beginning, the episode stream from the beginning, can ask informed questions or has a slightly better understanding of where I'm coming from when I'm talking about certain things. I do explain why I provide the explanation periodically, so YouTube, I apologise. So the general gist of Pugmire's kind of core mechanics is you roll a 20-sided die or a d20. Hey, Plastic Cage players. Oh, good. You saw my messages. Fantastic. Yes. So at the core of the d20 system, you roll a 20-sided die or d20, and you add you add the result that you roll to a number on your character sheet. That's basically it. There are... Cold medicine is a hell of a drug. Well, as long as the cold medicine is doing its job, we can stumble on through. Like, I just reused the promotional artwork from the last time I streamed, so I had everything but the classifieds slide. There are a couple more mechanics to bear in mind. Certainly ones that I'll be talking about today. Advantage, disadvantage. You roll the d20 twice, or you roll 2d20, and you pick the higher or lower result depending on if you have advantage or disadvantage respectively. That's kind of the main mechanical lever a lot of people mess with. Obviously, as you're adding numerical modifiers, addition and subtraction of modifiers becomes another lever you can tweak. And one of the I guess subtler ways in which Pugmire diverges from the 5th edition rule set is that all characters have 2 movement speeds. They have a 2-legged walking speed and a 4-legged running speed. In my experience, some people tend to forget that you are playing as animals and can in fact run on 4 legs. But I've had some ideas to mess around with that as well today. So today's topic, I was going to get really pretentious and use French, but I'm not going to. Today's topic of conversation, for those who came here from Facebook, or and if you're on Facebook and you're not in like the, oh god, what's the name of the group? World of Darkness and Onyx Path RPGs gameplay and media group. Highly recommend it. Or if you're a community content writer, there's the Onyx Path Community Content Creators Collective. That's also a useful group to be in. Pretty supportive. People answer questions. Or from the Onyx Path Discord server itself, obviously, where I talk about what I'll be talking about. Today's topic is terrain and weather modifiers, and how you can make the world around an encounter actually part of the encounter. Sorry, talking a lot. Gotta hydrate. Obviously, these rules, everything I'm talking about today are not official material, as I've already said in my disclaimer. It's simply how... Where's my... Thank you, my Word doc wouldn't open. So, just horrendous amount of emphasis placed on the fact that this is a variant rules document that I'll be, at some point, finishing editing and pushing through layout to sell on Canis Minor. Maybe even this year. So these are all, as I say, variant rules. This is not official material. This is just the way I would address certain things if I were asked to professionally. I realise, of course, I'm shooting myself in the foot by writing this, and I'm not pitching it as a book, but here we are at the end of the day. Yes, so The difficulty is that there's no real support in quite a few games for having terrain and weather be in not really a combatant in an encounter, but be a factor in an encounter, let's say. Some games will have it as you, as you're traveling, it will levy modifiers on travel, but once you're in an encounter, it's kind of, that's it. It's you, it's your opponents. There's really little else to be dealing with, unless the opponent itself has some particularly strong connection to the environment or can manipulate it in some way. And I completely understand why. From a forever GM perspective, having less GM overhead during an encounter is always a good thing, and just having that additional rule set bolted on top is, brain drain that you don't necessarily want or need, which is why these are variant rules. That's why they're not in the core rule book, I imagine, anyway. Obviously, I can't speak for that. But that's why I'm putting them in community content, because I like providing toolboxes for people to tinker around with. And if people use these for one encounter and it's not for them, that's totally fine. I have given you options. It's up to you to use them or not. These are just ideas I've had that I play around with in my home games, and occasionally they work out. So I'd like to offer them to you to maybe improve your games, or to provide inspiration for your own encounters and writing, let's say. Again, I'm very scatterbrained right now. Please, if something I'm saying comes across as extremely authoritative or arrogant, please do call me out on it. I need people to keep me honest when I'm like this. I'm trying to keep it under control, but there's only so little I can do with the neurodivergence that I've been afflicted with. Sorry. With that in mind, with regards to GM brain drain, as with most things, when it comes to designing mechanics, there's the ever applicable kiss: keep it simple, stupid. You don't want things too complicated. So my plan here is to have a series of one-sentence modifiers that a GM who wants, a guide who wants to use them. Sorry, I have to keep checking my messages because related to the terrible news I got yesterday. Cool. So the guide, which is for in Pugmire parlance, the person running the game, can write on an index card or a post-it note or something to keep by the battlefield, so that everyone, the encounter side, let's say, so that everyone is aware of what's happening. So we've got bad news. Hope everything is as well as can be. Not really, but I figured that there was enough disruption to this show last year that I want to start as strong as I possibly can this year and keep things going. I want to hit that 100 episodes. If nothing else, I want to hit 100 episodes and then just retire in obscurity. I don't know where I'm going with that. That was supposed to be a bit. I don't think it landed. But it's just distracting more than anything, as I say. So I just need keeping honest occasionally, or on track. Yes. So I'm going to try to write these, not assuming there is a combat encounter in mind, but the nature of the game. It landed well enough. Oh, good. The nature of the game obviously lends itself more to combat encounters than anything else. Obviously, you can do social and exploratory encounters, but most of the game is geared towards combat, so that's where most of these modifiers will be directly applicable. However, I did take some time earlier to think about how best to address this, and long-time viewers of the show may be wondering, but Ryan, you were going to be talking about callings and how to design your own callings. To which I say to you, procrastination is a hell of a drug. Yes. So I spent some time earlier thinking about how best to handle this, and I decided that I'm going to go for a compromise. It's not really the right word. A mixture of the two approaches I could. So I could take the approach of I just have a series of modifiers with an evocative title and leave it at that. Or I could have a series of here is like a biome or an environment type. Here are the modifiers for that biome / environment type. What I'm going to do is both. I'm going to have biomes with the different modifiers, and then like a table for quick reference for people who maybe just want to have a single thing that's not really related to any one particular area, but just wants something to spice up an encounter, let's say. So I need to again proclaim that when it comes to writing your own material, because it's been like 4 weeks since I last streamed, and I think longer since I last mentioned this, but when it comes to writing your own material, no matter what you're eventually going to be doing layout in, so for example, I'm writing in Microsoft Word, I then go and do my layout in Affinity Publisher. Word is fine for smaller documents. I just discovered that Word has a maximum PDF bookmark export number, and something that I've been working on for a couple of years now reached that. So I had to actually use a different program, and I was like, I might as well just get used to using this program now. But Microsoft Word, for the vast majority of you out there just writing community content, Microsoft Word will do everything you need it to do. You can have section headers, or you can have chapter headings and footers. You can export bookmarked PDFs from Microsoft Word. Obviously, there are other word processing solutions out there. I only have experience with Word. A little bit of experience with LibreOffice, but no, not enough to speak authoritatively on using it for community content. But taking stuff from Word into, as I use Affinity Publisher, but Adobe InDesign is obviously the big name. I assume it works similarly in InDesign. People in chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I know at least one of you in chat uses InDesign. But you can use that. Basically, Microsoft Word and Affinity Publisher both use headings to generate bookmarks. So if you get your headings sorted in Microsoft Word before you even export anything, it will save you a lot of hassle in the long run. You're going through and setting headings after the fact. Just as a side note, also, if you're just using Word, if you go to View and Navigation pane, it gives you all of the bookmarks in the Word document as well for ease of just traveling through the document, and gives you some idea of how a table of contents might look, for example, with all of the nested sections. Side note, it's spells where I hit the maximum bookmark export number. Maximum exported bookmark number, sorry. Not in this document, obviously, but yeah. Anyway, so I figure that as this is for random encounters, just logically, I'm thinking immediately after random encounters for the kind of terrain and environment modifiers, because kind of all of this sort of goes together into one system, and then encounter generation, which is what I did last stream, whereas here's my expanded random encounter generation system for people to use if they wish. And kind of why it is how it is. You know, I'm talking about last time like anyone would have seen it, and in hindsight, I don't think I put it on YouTube. If that is the case, I'm about to apologize to how many people? To 4 people, well, 3 people, I guess, because one of them's me, according to Twitch view counts. Pretty sure. Now I'm thinking about it. Yep, I absolutely forgot to pull up last stream. Wonderful. So those of you who do like this show, I apologise wholeheartedly, and I will get that fixed later today. I'm opening all of the wrong windows. Please, Microsoft Word, thank you. So, yes, last stream I just soapboxed, because that's what the show is. It's a soapbox. I soapboxed about encounters and random encounters and how they can be useful. And just provided some advice and commentary about that, and then as I hit my different random encounter system, as well as some random encounter tables to further roll on if you need to. I'll go over the YouTube side of things later, but for now, I guess environment and weather rules. Let's just say modifiers. And then this will be heading 2, because this comes under the blanket heading of variant rules. The following rules... I don't know why I'm talking like that, I apologise. The following rules are... divided into thematic groupings of biome. However, sorry again, for people new to the show, I bought the quietest keyboard I could. You are encouraged. Again, I keep saying that a lot. For people who are new to the show, also, all this material is stream of consciousness first draft. When it's important that I have the wording correct on something from the get-go, I will take the time to agonize over it. Just shout outs to anyone who has suffered through my Scarred Lands series of the show, where I took like half an hour to decide on a single word for something, I think it was. Hoo boy, that was rough. And again, shout out to anyone who sat through that. Huge props to you. You are encouraged to use these inspiration and do with them as you will. Space. M dash space. Instead of concrete rules, space. M dash space. And do with them as you will. A table listing all of modifiers is presented at the end of this section for quick reference purposes. And then going back to the headings conversation, so we're in the variant rules section of the book within the environment and weather modifiers subsection, and now we're going to go. Actually, you know what? We'll just have 2 blanket ones for the moment. Extreme temperatures, which will be heading 3 because it nests it under heading 2. Extreme temperatures. Extreme heat. Oh, right, I should probably clarify as well. Unless otherwise stated, these modifiers only apply to encounters and not overland travel. Extreme temperatures. These modifiers apply to overland travel. Just like keeping my readers on their toes, and all of you in chat. Instead of encounters. The characters must when it comes to bit of self-reflection here, self-awareness, what have you. But you may have noticed I am slightly verbose. I like words. Words are one of the few skills I have that I'm good at. But the trouble is, when you're writing mechanics, you want to be as concise as possible because concision lends itself to simplicity and limits the chance of confusion. So, to my brain, every time I'm writing anything that requires a test, a check, a roll of some sort, it's always must succeed at A, rather than must pass A. This is, again, I like words, and some phrases just feel better in my brain than others, and just come more naturally to me than others. But also, when you're writing to a word count, must pass A, whereas when compared to must succeed at A, it's one fewer word, which really adds up over the course of writing an entire adventure or game text. So things to bear in mind if you do want to start your journey into community content or freelance writing of any kind, really. The characters must pass a... also, standard disclaimer that I've been making for the past few streams. I've been writing for a variety of different systems, which capitalize things in different ways. So if something should be capitalized in this rules text, please don't assume when I release the book it won't be. As I say, this is just first pass material, where I'm just getting things out onto the page. I know, obviously, I mentioned that on the Pathcast this week, they're talking about how to get into freelance TTRPG writing. The best advice I can give you from my perspective is just write. Put it out there. Pitch to the Onyx Path Twitch team with a show where you can highlight your ability to write. That's what I did. It took a while, but it worked. Paid off. As with most things in life, just getting started is sometimes the hardest thing to do. And I'm not saying that the first pass will be the best material, but as I can't remember where I read it recently, but I read somewhere online that they're saying that you can edit a bad book, you can't edit a blank book. And it is so true. Just get words out, get stuff down. If you need to step away from it for a while and then come back after it's finished, that's fine. That's the best thing to do, really. But just get stuff out. Even if it's wrong, even if as you're writing it, you know that you're getting game terms wrong, as long as you convey what you mean by that, you can come back to it. Like, for instance, here I could just write must pass a DC whatever saving throw, and I would know to change that when I come back to it, because Pugmire doesn't use DC, it uses the word difficulty, but there we go. Perfect is the enemy of done, as I always say. Exactly. I mean, to be fair, I don't, while I'm on the topic, it's a little different writing community content, because a lot of the time, unless you're extremely lucky or you can afford to pay an editor, or unless you're extremely lucky and can afford to pay an editor, as the writer of the community content, you'll also likely be the editor and do the layout and the promotion. And editing fixes everything, TM. Exactly. It is so, and I'm coming at this from the place of I've been writing community content for years now, and not releasing it very often because it just takes a while to do. For this show is an extended writing process. It's an artificially extended writing process, and also I don't get much downtime to write community content, but I've written some. I've been writing for a year as well, professionally. But with regards to the community content stuff, I'm also a trained editor and proofreader. Fun fact, if anyone's looking for an editor. And it is phenomenally difficult to edit your own work. Because you know what you're trying to say, yes, I'll pick up on almost all of the typos and grammatical errors, but when it comes to game text, because I know why I made a specific word choice, I'll leave it in, whereas someone else reading it probably won't pick up on why I chose that particular word, and will be like, this word just works better. And yes, obviously I could argue my case. Practical example, I entered a game jam recently on itch, and I wrote the phrase, when you would die, because the character type in the rules can't actually die. They just, all their stats reset to 1 for a scene, and then they come back. That's all you're getting. This is not a channel to promote my games that aren't Onyx Path related. From a professional standpoint, just my standards. But obviously, like, when you would die, it makes sense. The character's not actually dying. There's nothing grammatically incorrect with that statement, with that phrase. Sorry. But the second pair of eyes, it pointed out that it reads better just to have when you die. The word would is not actually... It's not conveying much. It's more just subtle information that I know, and a lot of the time, as with in fiction writing, a lot of the time, unlike with fiction writing, when it comes to writing game text, tell, don't show is usually a better option. Telling someone outright that when X occurs, Y happens is so much clearer and less confusing than saying when X would occur, because then the reader it raises questions about other circumstances where it wouldn't occur. Where are those in the rules? Or what happens if it does occur? Like for definite, concrete. So there's just some importance of editing, I guess, is what I'm driving at. But yes, ultimately, obviously, it's up to your call. If you are particularly married to a specific phrase or way of wording things or game text, section of game text, obviously that is a conversation you can have with your editor. There have been obviously instances where I've written material and been told, written material and told myself that it's wrong. That will happen too, particularly if you take a step back from it to clear your brain. It is easier to edit your own work for a second draft, and further if you have a break between writing it and coming back to it, because you're not the same person as you were when you were writing it, and you won't necessarily make the same assumptions of the reader. Roger Leslie had a very interesting time learning to play TTRPGs because he was so used to describing everything as a successful author, but at that point in time. Yeah, exactly. It's really, just as a side note, as someone who writes mechanics, narrative, I like to write a bit of everything. I know some people like to focus. I'm a generalist, in terms of preference anyway. There is definitely certainly for me, obviously other writers may disagree, there's definitely a different mindset between writing mechanics and writing narrative. And particularly when writing the more narrative elements of a book, I would definitely keep things vague for player interpretation. Well, for GMs to be able to interpret. It's unclear. It's a fine line to walk between keeping things vague enough that the GM can interpret it in their own way to tailor it to their own group, and keeping it concrete enough that it's a quality product that warrants purchase and provides meaningful and useful information. Obviously, anyone who has any experience GMing knows that no plan survives contact with the players anyway, and I have waxed lyrical on many occasions on the show about how to write material just in general. But going from that, I'm going to mostly show with a bit of tell here and there and like read aloud text or explicit sidebars drawing attention to certain things, to here's a whole chunk of rules text that I'm going to tell you everything as simply as I possibly can. Something that I do fall back on a lot, and obviously that you'll have picked up on that if you were here at the start of the show. So my background is academia. I graduated from I went through university, like many people in my generation. I was fortunate enough to go through university anyway. And that taught me, that kind of gave me the habit of, when I'm writing anything, I just assume that the intended reader has no idea what I'm talking about. They have no prior experience with the thing that I'm describing or working with. Hopefully, as I'm saying this, people I've worked for aren't going, oh, well, that explains a lot. Obviously, if it's for a supplement, I can reasonably expect that the reader knows the core rules. But even then, there's, I don't know, just to me, it makes sense to make things as simple as possible. It's like, what effect do I want to achieve? How do I tell the reader that in as few words as possible? There's a really long-winded digression on show, don't tell, and tell, don't show, and the difference between the two in writing. Hopefully it was moderately interesting and useful. I'm going to get back to this, however. The players must pass the difficulty 15. Sorry, I need to check where I'm in this PDF. Why can I never remember where stuff is in this PDF? This PDF is wonderfully laid out, but I just can't remember anything. I also have to be careful when using PDFs, page numbers and things, because I can never remember what key bindings I have OBS set to, and I'm always worried I'm going to end the stream accidentally. Yeah, cool. Difficulty 15, Constitution saving throw. For every interval they travel. The interval length should be altered to suit their environment. An hour in a desert is probably much more tolerable than an hour in a realm of magical fire. I don't know. Hang on. These modifiers apply to overland travel instead of encounters, and make use of intervals. Intervals are discrete periods of time whose lengths are built to suit the environment. An hour in a desert is probably much more tolerable than an hour in a realm of magical fire. For example, although a progression of 1 hour, 8 hours, and a day is easiest to track. There we go. Characters must pass difficulty 15 Constitution saving throw for every interval they travel. So, the OGL, 5th edition rule set, call it what you will. a system. Really? Uses a system called exhaustion for things of this nature. Sorry, I am just checking something. And the general gist of it is the more exhausted you are, the worse it gets for you. Trying to think how to phrase this while scanning text. And also, you know, come up with game mechanics, because exhaustion isn't in this game that I can tell, unless I'm forgetting something incredibly obvious, which is entirely possible. But I don't. Hang on, let's just check the character sheet. Is there any space to track exhaustion, or is there an index? There's probably an index. Why am I like this? Anyway, so. But exhaustion, I was just double checking anyway. But obviously, that is more than. This is already 2 sentences, so it's longer than I'd like, but this is a overland travel thing, so it can be a bit longer. So I just something simple that reflects the dangers of extreme heat. They use existing game mechanics. I'm not averse to creating new conditions and mechanics for supplements. To go back to the Scarred Lands one. The People of the Snow, I think I called it in the end. I created new conditions for that game, for that book, for example, and hopefully people are enjoying them. So I'm not averse to doing that, but I would, particularly with a book that is just a whole list of variant rules that's already adding to the game, I'd much rather stay within the bounds of the game itself. So. Just as context, again, stacking exhaustion, it just makes things. Your character becomes worse at things, your character becomes slower, and then eventually they die. And with its market share, obviously, a lot of. I have to assume that people will be vaguely aware of 5th edition if I take that approach of like, on one failure, this happens, on the second failure, this happens, on the third failure, they're dead. I also just don't like that as a progression of mechanics. Yes, obviously, a character can die from extreme heat. Unless they are suitably equipped. Yes, so characters who fail are sickly, which is a condition in the Pugmire rulebook. I think we're just going to go straight to sickly because, well, actually, you know what? Characters who fail 1 saving throw have their movement speeds halved. Characters who failed 2 saving throws are sickly. You know, I realize I just said I wasn't going to do the progression of something bad, dead, but I know. Hang on. Is there a better condition? Or is it? Yes. Players who fail 2 saving throws in a row are immobile and incapacitated. They receive appropriate treatment. So the first stage is kind of like heat stroke. You know, sorry, the first stage is overheating, where you just slow down because you're just that hot you can't move quickly. And then the second stage is you're flat on your back in heat stroke. With heat stroke, sorry. Have their movement speed halved until the end of their next. I want to say nap, but I could be wrong. There are so many different games in my brain that have different words for resting. Particularly when rest itself is a game term in some games. But it's not always the kind of rest I think it is, so I'm just, as I say, I'm just checking. I think it's sleep. I think sleep is the word I'm looking for. Yes. To the end of their next sleep, till they receive appropriate treatment. Because a lot of time, obviously, a lot of the time in games like this, it's easy to track things that just end after your next period of X time, right? So in this instance, sleep, which is like 8 hours of downtime, and overnight rest, for example. A sleep, if you will. And that's easy to keep track of, but it is a double-edged sword because it's very simple, it's very neat, it's clean. Keep it simple, stupid again. But then when you want something that has a longer duration, there's really no precedence for until the end of their second sleep. You know, it gets a bit difficult to word and convey. Again, going back to the modifiers thing, these are going to be longer just because they're overland travel modifiers. They're not intended to be, this is going to affect the encounter until they receive appropriate treatment. Like 2 sleeps, undergo or complete 2 sleeps, I guess is the smoothest way of saying it, but it's clunky. Let's say until they have completed 2 sleeps. Completed 2 sleeps. Appropriate treatment reduces this to the end of their next sleep. And for good measure, embolden. I don't know why I said it. Oh, I know why I said it like that. Because it sounds cool. It sounds like it's bold. Extreme cold. Much like with Trinity Continuum, adventure! You have to pronounce that exclamation mark, otherwise you're talking about a completely different game. So, extreme heat, stroke, etc. Extreme cold. Let's go with temptation. Obviously, is to do the same, to lump these 2 together, but I don't want to. Nobody can make me. Well, technically, I guess people could make me if they really wanted to. They could. I'm going to stop that right there. There was a... Yeah, I think it was confused I was thinking of. Now, Sickly works better as a like you're shivering too much to focus on attack rolls and ability checks. Let's go with Sickly. The first again. Until they sleep. Until they sleep. This is not 5th edition. This is Pugmire. So this will be just slept twice, I guess. Are sickly until they sleep. And characters who failed 2 saving throws. So, just as a contextual explanation for people who don't know what I'm talking about. So, the sickly condition that I've chosen to represent shivering excessively, you have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. So you roll 2d20 and you pick the lowest result. It makes it less likely that you'll be able to do what you want to do. And then I think now we'll go with unconscious. Characters who fail 2 saving throws in a row are unconscious. They must be warmed for the duration of a sleep. To recover. I guess they must sleep. You know what? They are unconscious until they have completed a sleep while warm. There we go. Words. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they hate me. A lot of the time they hate me, I'll be honest. Also, I say this a lot, but for those watching who are interested in content creation, having to split my focus between Twitch chat, between narrating what I'm doing, between talking through my thought process and then writing, particularly with everything else that's going on personally right now, it does increase the mental load somewhat, and sometimes makes it difficult for me to get across exactly what I want to say. So please do feel free to clarify, to ask for clarification. Or to point out where I've clearly made a mistake. Mistakes do happen. I freely admit that. I'm not perfect. Particularly when, as I say, my attention is currently split like 5 ways. And just trying to keep things going and moving. So those are the extreme temperatures. Those are the like obvious ones that I wanted to include for overland travel, at the very least. Weather. Rain. Rain imposes a... Okay, apparently the minus key in my number pad is not my end stream shortcut. Good to know. Cumulative -1 penalty for every 5 feet. Oh god, phrasing. Gosh, sorry. So the idea here being that it just makes it harder to hit people at range. Depending on the severity of the rain, obviously. Rain imposes a cumulative -1 penalty on attack rolls. spell and weapon attack rolls. For every 5 feet. You and your target. So, well, I guess ability checks and spell and weapon attack rolls for every 5 feet between you and your target. So this is... So I was going to have like a separate rider about how rain affects perception checks, but that kind of just noticed, sorry, checks. But I think that's just fine as it is. I'm just trying to think through the... So when you're doing any... Sorry, when I'm writing rules text, I can't speak for everyone, obviously, and I don't want to presume to speak for your own experience. When I'm writing rules text, I don't think of edge cases. I don't figure out how it could be abused. I tried to take players in good faith. Obviously, if I'm writing professionally, that kind of thing's for the developer or whoever's in charge of the book to sort out anyway. I try to think how that mechanic would work narratively and how it would be applied, and whether having a narrow focus would be better than a broad focus. So in this instance, as I mentioned initially, it was inspired by... Sorry. Initially, my thought was how it would affect notice checks. Right? How does rain affect my ability to notice people? But thinking about it, it's harder to intimidate someone if they're between you, if there's a curtain of rain between you and them, and you're both soaked. Equally, it's harder to climb if it's I need to think how to say this, because that's a case that I should probably make provision for. How to phrase this? Because again, I want it to be just a one-sentence rule so that it's easy to remember, it's easy to write down. Between you and your target, character or location. There we go. So, making, given that we're talking about dogs here, should we differentiate between how different breeds of dogs tolerate different temperatures and weather differently? Oh gosh, no, but I'm not going into that far into that with community content. If you want realism, there are, I'm sure, people who will do that for you. That kind of thing. I may add a line about that for in the final release for guides to make that judgment call, but honestly, it's fine. There is provision for things of that nature in the SRD, the 5th edition system reference document, the basic rules that Pugmire has adapted, where if you are resistant to fire damage, for example, you don't have to roll to resist the effects of extreme heat, because your body's just naturally acclimated to it. That kind of thing isn't really in Pugmire, so I don't want to have a list of these are the breeds that don't have to make this roll, or these are the breeds that have a lower difficulty for this roll. It just comes back to the dark vision problem of you kind of feel like you have to pick a certain species because mechanically they could be viewed as better than other species, and I just want to help people play the dogs they want to play. Also, I'm going to be converting this for Realms of Pugmire when that comes out. And by converting it, I mean, I'll just be like, here is the document, and then here is an update to the document that simply says, please refer to the conversion guide on page XX in the Realms of Pugmire rulebook. For game text, for game terms, conversions. Although, by all means, like, I don't want to yuck your yum. If you want to have that list, again, I'm just providing this tool, this idea. If you want to make that list of these are the dogs that would, cats, lizards, etc., birds, rodents, that would find this kind of thing easier, by all means, go ahead and do it. If you want to do that, if that is fun for your table, obviously, go for it. I can't stop you. Yes, so the -1 penalty to whatever for every 5 feet between you and your target character or location. Let's make this 10 feet. Because this covers things like climbing, for example, and sneaking. I guess technically, if I'm expressing this in game terms, it covers things like traversal and sneak. But generally, it's making things harder for you. I guess I should. Well, technically. So I was going down the mental rabbit hole there of should this have an exclusion for. I want to get the game text. I want to get the name of the skill right. Sorry, please bear with me 1 second. Oh, PDF just load faster. Maybe opening it in Firefox isn't the best idea. I really should just make a summary document with a list of skills in it, and like the things I check a lot. Sneak, yeah, it is sneak. I thought it was. So I was thinking maybe I should have an exclusion here for sneak. So this is where I come back to keep it simple. And I am loath to have that exclusion. 2 reasons. One, it would add on to the length of an already reasonably lengthy sentence. And 2, this penalty, yes, it's applying to your sneak roll, and yes, you might be very good at moving through puddles without making noise, but it's also modifying anyone's notice rolls to see or hear you moving in the rain. So I think on balance, it's fine. As a quick and dirty rule to keep things moving, I don't think it particularly needs the rider. If you want that exclusion, by all means go ahead and make that exclusion. I am also going to have a sentence here. Whether the following modifiers assume a moderate expression of the weather. That's a really weird way of phrasing it, but it's the best thing I've got right now. Assuming moderate expression of the weather for particularly intense instances, let's say. Consider increasing penalties. Halving ranges or similar. There we go. So that's like if it's particularly heavy rain, it's up to the guide to make that judgment call of does it become a -2 penalty or does it become a penalty applied for every 5 feet between you? And obviously you can if you particularly want to get into the maths of it, increasing it to a -2 penalty does technically equate to it being for every 5 feet anyway, but it will apply to more things if it's a -1 penalty every 5 feet. And then for torrential downpour, obviously you could have it as a -2 penalty every 5 feet. I should call this precipitation, because that's more generic and applies to things like sleet, hail, snow. So wind. Wind is a really... Wind is one of those things where I don't particularly want to take the obvious route. So usually with strong wind, it's a slap some disadvantage on it. It's fine. And like, to be fair, yes, that does work out. It's a simple way of doing it. Just having that fixed. If you're making a ranged attack in this environment, everything is a disadvantage because of the strong winds. However, this is a toolbox. So I'm going to provide that. And I'm going to provide an or, because I didn't say I couldn't do anything like that when I was talking about one sentence. Haha! All ranged attacks have disadvantage. Hang on. I believe it's have a disadvantage. Yes. So all ranged attacks have a disadvantage, or all ranged attacks ranges halved. So again, going back to do you make it -2 penalty or attack, or it applies every 5 feet? These are very functionally similar effects that are both easy to track, with slightly different expressions. So all ranged attacks have a disadvantage. As I say, sorry, I just need to. There we go. Makes it less likely that you'll hit, and this is, my personal feelings. I do want to preface it by saying that I do enjoy Pugmire a lot. I really like playing it. I'm really grateful that I got to run it to support the Realms of Pugmire Kickstarter. This is a problem more inherent in a lot of games, in that you roll and you just fail and nothing happens. So while saying something has a disadvantage, situationally, does sometimes just make the most sense. I'm not saying you can never say that and that your players should succeed every time, because I like drama. Drama, conflict, tension drives a good story. And because I recognise that situationally, sometimes just a blanket disadvantage on all ranged attacks has its place. Hence the or. Giving ranged attacks halved ranges allows for more, granular control of things. So if you're unfamiliar of how ranged weapons work, everything has a kind of like a normal range, at which you can attack normally, and then a maximum range. And if your target is between the normal range and the maximum range, you have a disadvantage on the attack roll. Again, you roll 2d20, you pick the lowest. So already you can tell that if a strong wind is just giving a blanket disadvantage to everything, there's no reason not to make those longer than normal shots, because you're already at a disadvantage. Multiple disadvantages don't do anything. So it kind of, you're less likely to hit, sure, but you now have equal odds of hitting things at, say, 10 feet as opposed to 50 feet. So why not back up, get away from danger, and just pepper things from a distance? If it's the same odds, if it's going to be the same odds for the entire encounter. However, halving ranges, you still have that chance of... you still have that fact that you can attack within a range. You still have a straight attack roll, or maybe you have an advantage to an attack roll that isn't being cancelled out by the disadvantage. But it requires you to be slightly more considerate about where you are to maximize your opportunities. So, look, dagger, for example. I'll use a dagger for example because it's the top of the weapons table. A dagger has a normal range of 20 and a thrown range of 60. Actually, a dagger is a terrible example. Why would I use a dagger as an example? You fool! Where is it? A sling, for example. I'm trying to find something you can't use as a melee weapon, essentially. Just look in the ranged section of the table. A sling, for example, has a normal range of 30 and a maximum range of 120. Please bear in mind that if you're attacking with a ranged weapon and there is a hostile character within 5 feet of you, you have a disadvantage on the attack roll anyway. So that is where the positioning comes into play. So yeah, it has normal range of 30 and a maximum range of 120. So strong winds halves that to 15 and 60. At which point, obviously, if you don't want to risk the disadvantage, you have to get very close. Bows, because they're a bow, they have a longer range of... a short bow and a small crossbow, for example, have a normal range of 80 and a maximum of 320. We don't talk about the longbow. The longbow's normal range is barely going to be a problem in fair weather circumstances, but for the purposes of this example, a longbow's normal range is 150 feet and its maximum range is 600 feet. Bearing in mind that I've run a lot of 5th edition and 5th edition kind of inspired games that fall under the umbrella of the OGL. Most encounter maps are at most 100 feet to a side. So that 150 is not going to be all that much of a problem. Then obviously when you're dealing with weapons with such extreme ranges, it gets a bit weird when you're just saying all ranges are halved. But again, keep it simple, stupid. Like I'm not here to be realistic with my mechanics. I'm here to produce fun mechanics and to write material that people want to use that just helps enhance gameplay rather than be true to life. Because this is a game about bipedal spellcasting animals trying to recover their sense of history, culture, and society from the ruins of humanity in the far distant future. It's not terribly realistic. Yes, so all ranged attacks have their ranges halved. Positioning, talk about ranges. Yes, also having it like that also means that if it's heavy wind... Damn, I was hoping for realism in my game about checks, notes, magical dogs and cats. I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I can't give you a D100 2-hit location table for your psychic rat character that has a chance to lose its head if it trips and falls. I really shouldn't cast shade at certain role-playing games, particularly when I've contracted for their publishers. Whoops. Your code. I mean, I can do that specifically just for you if you want. Here is my realistic Pugmire hack. Please hire me again. I put all this effort into it. Yes, anyway. Yeah, so having it expressed that way allows you to, as I alter it for heavy winds where all attacks have their ranges quartered, for example. Hence the advice to be like, these are just moderate instances. If it's worse, make it worse. Which is just good GMing advice in general. If it's worse, make it worse. Except every now and then, make it better. The players will thank. Making it nice on very rare occasions makes the players just happier. Please don't. Find that nice balance between drama and comfort. Not everyone likes dungeon crawls, for example. I've just thought of how many instances of my life I've unconsciously lived according to the motto of if it's worse, make it worse. Good lord. Anyway, epiphany aside. But as I'm keeping the all ranged attacks have a disadvantage there, just because some people find that easier. And so, as I say, in some situations that is just better. I'm keeping an eye on the time. Let's do one more fog. Characters can't see further than, let's say, 60 feet. Why not? Just blanket. You just can't see beyond this range. I guess technically I should express this in game terms. Characters are blind beyond 60 feet. I think is more aligned with... Don't capitalize that. Should that be capitalized? I can't remember if... Chat, quick. Are conditions capitalized? I would open Secret of Vincent's Tomb because it's the only adventure I have for Pugmire, but I don't... I guess there's one in Paris as well, but I think... But I don't remember where there are conditions in that. Probably. It seems like it would make sense, but I've been writing so many things. You know what? If I just Control F for blind, I get a really wholesome Kickstarter message. Wonderful. Style guides out the wazoo. Yeah, there are too many style guides in my brain. So they're capitalized in tricks. Yes, they are capitalized in just game text. Cool. So I need to capitalize this. Characters are blind beyond 60 feet. And obviously, if it's a really thick fog, 30 feet, etc., etc., etc. Fun fact for those of you who do want to get into freelance RPG writing or write community content, just check your style guides. If they're capitalized there, then they're capitalized everywhere. That's true. Your style guides will be your best friend and your worst enemy. Particularly if you write for a lot of different game lines. Because you'll end up in this position where you can remember it, but you're not sure if you're misremembering it for a different game. However, they are not ephemeral. They are documents that you can read. So always check. Save your poor developer the hassle of highlighting everything that needs capitalizing. Especially if there are changes in the start guide between editions. Yes, absolutely. Be aware of that. Which is the problem I'm having here. Eddie hiring me was a double-edged sword. But I don't regret it. I really like what I've worked on for Realms, but it's made this more difficult than it has any right to be. Yes, anyway. Oh, the time. I've just noticed the time. I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet and save the document. Good old Control S. How would fog affect smell? Since I think dogs have specific scent rules. I will think about that for next time. However, I'm probably going to have, because there's all stuff I want to be able to bolt on and keep things simple. So it is just a toolkit. What I'll probably do is have like a cold air and a damp air weather modifier that specifically affects smell. Because it's the dampness in fog, I guess, that affects the scent rather than the fog itself. And that's also a modifier you can use elsewhere rather than rolling it all into one. I think it's probably the best way to do it because, as I said, my plan is to have like a list of biomes, and they'll be alphabetical. Before next stream, I'll try to have a list of the biomes I'm going to write for, and I would like to be able to call past modifiers. So if I cover cold air, for example, in the Arctic biome, I can then, in the marsh biome, I can have like damp air, see cool air, for example. Just to avoid having to just copy paste text. Keep things simple. Obviously, I might decide not to do that. I might just copy the text anyway, so it's all in one place. But if I'm going to put together a reference table, I don't want to be including. If cold air and damp air, for example, do the same thing, just in a different biome, I don't want to have two entries on the table that does the exact same thing. It's the wetness of the water in the air. Yes, that sentence does make sense. It does. Water itself, though, not wet. Water makes things wet. Fun fact. Just a bit of semantics there to round up this very bizarre stream. So yes, I can only apologise for how scatterbrained I've been and the digressions I've gone on today. Hopefully the 200, what's that, 80 words-ish? Hopefully the 326 words I've written today have been mildly entertaining and have given you some things to think about. Hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation, the discussion, the peeks behind the screen, so to speak. Think about it. Or don't. If you did miss the beginning of the stream, the Monday meeting notes are always the best place to go for project updates and things of that nature. Important things to note is that this Wednesday, Icons of Rage for Wealth, the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition is going on sale. And it's Onyx Path's last project, I believe it was, for that particular game line. And the next crowdfunding campaign is to fund reprints of the Trinity Core book, Scion Origin, and Trinity Continuum Ether book. Just fixing some minor errata, no sweeping changes, just some reprints as Onyx Path moves over to a new printer, because it's nothing terribly new. Oh no, your fourth wall. What fourth wall? Because it's nothing terribly new. The campaign is only running for about half the length of a normal crowdfunding campaign, so your book should be with you by the end of the year, all things being well. As I say, just moving to a new printer, got to have different files. Why not make some errata fixes while you're at it? But nothing, as I say, nothing terribly game-changing. I think that was mostly it. If you have enjoyed the show, as I say, the Pathcast this week will be talking about freelance RPG writing and how to get into it. So check that out when it is live if you are interested in such things. Rest of the schedule this week, they came from Classified, the hotel lobby later. I believe that tasty bit is what inspired the They Came From Classified adventure that Eddie ran during Onyx Path Con that I was fortunate enough to play in, and it was a lot of fun. Tomorrow at 9 PM Eastern, Scarlet Sins of Shelzar. Friday, 9 PM Eastern. These are all Eastern. I'll start specifying. Hunt of the Vigil, Fear and Loathing. Sunday, 6 PM, Scion 2nd Edition Godsend. And Mondays, 8 AM, Hunt of the Vigil Stuffed. Which, I'm sorry, but, like, combining Hunt of the Vigil and the word stuffed in one actual play title is absolutely cursed. I do not want to know A, what has been stuffed, and B, what it has been stuffed with in the Chronicles of Darkness. It is just a bad time all around. However, you should check it out and don't let me know. If you've enjoyed the show, please do consider following me. If you've enjoyed the show and you missed the start of it, please do consider following me on YouTube. Onto the Vigil FNAF. Yes, that is possibly one of the possibilities that had occurred to me. Please do consider following me on YouTube. These streams are... it's just youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles. These streams are exclusive for 1 week for Twitch subscribers here on the channel. Twitch.tv/The Onyx Path. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is always in the video description. Unless something's gone horribly wrong with my copy-paste skills. And then after that week's up, they go live on Twitch until Twitch deletes them automatically. And they are archived, as I say, on youtube.com/@ComradeBubbles. It's in the playlist with all of the other episodes of the series. There's a comment section on there. You can let me know what you thought of the episode, of the show. Any constructive criticism is welcome. If you have a Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch account to create a Prime Gaming account. A lot of things. A lot of the word account there. But that Prime Gaming account gives you 1 free subscription every month. It does not it's every 30 days, I think, technically. It does not auto-renew, but you can use that on any channel on Twitch. Ideally here, of course. And that gives you all of the benefits of a standard Tier 1 Twitch subscription. You get access to videos as soon as the stream is over. You get access to those sweet, sweet emotes. You get access, I believe, to a subscriber-exclusive channel on the Onyx Path Discord server. And Onyx Path gets all of the benefits of you subscribing as a Tier 1 subscription as well. They get the same money that they would get. If you have any lingering questions, I do stream on Twitch at Comrade Bubbles. You can just click the blue text, or teal text, I guess, in the stream title, and that will take you to my channel. I do stream mostly just variety of video games, but I'm always happy to talk about role-playing games and discuss things. If I can find it, comradebubbles.bsky.social is my social media handle. If you want to follow me on Blue Sky for whatever reason, I do occasionally post. I'm trying to get better at it, but there's so many things that are constantly pulling my attention. But I'm trying to get better at that, and I do post mostly role-playing related things. I'm also active on the Onyx Path Discord server, and also if you have any lingering questions, I will answer them there. I'll also answer them in the Twitch chat, because I will be around for the next 5 minutes or so while the post roll rolls. But I apologise that this stream has not been to my usual middling standards. I'm sorry that there has been some scatterbrained absent-mindedness. I've been trying to keep myself on track as much as I can, and I'm feeling it right now. But hopefully it has at least provided some interesting talking points for you to think about, provided some inspiration for mechanics you can use in your home games, just general writing advice for writing mechanics and things. The best advice I can ever give is just keep it simple. If it does what you want it to do, don't overcomplicate it. But I will see you, hopefully. Life happens, it's been fun as far as I can see. Excellent, wonderful. Hopefully I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I'm hoping that this... that's the 30th of January. I'm hoping that this year is better for my streaming schedule than last year was. 2023 was horrendous. for a wide variety of reasons. So hopefully I'll see you all in 2 weeks. But until then, please do stay safe. Please do stay healthy. Please do stay wholesome. Please do stick around for the post-roll where you can see the promotional art for the shows on the schedule, as well as a confirmation of the times. But I'll see you all next time.